Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with the second half of the 2025 Mojo Fun prehistoric releases. This is the only other figure from them that is releasing in their prehistoric range for this year that I know of so far anyway, and that is the Cryptoclidus. And this one is super exciting because outside of the Yowie version, I don't have any figures of this species in my collection, so I'm definitely excited to have a very nice looking high quality model of this. And overall, again, Mojo Fun absolutely knocked this figure out of the park in my opinion. It is definitely one of the nicest looking marine reptiles that I have seen in quite some time from any company, and again, one of the best Mojo Fun figures I have seen. And this is a continuing trend as Mojo Fun just always evolving, always improving, and showing us again that they are a force to be reckoned with moving forward into the future, and you can definitely see that with this incredible looking Cryptoclidus. So I'm going to go ahead, readjust the camera, and we'll get a closer look. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see the head sculpt looks quite nice. We do have our Cryptoclidus baring its teeth here, looking pretty menacing at the same time, maybe like it's about to open its mouth and chow down on something in front of it, kind of giving me that look and feel. We can see the nostrils up here, some nice looking skin texture. We do have a bluish tone for the majority of the skin color, but this one has some really subtle variation to the blues. Like you could see some really nice additions to the blues as far as slight variation here and there. It's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly every spot that I see it, but it does have like some really nice, really smooth airbrushing, giving it a little variation to the blues. Like I could see a slightly different shade of blue on the top of the head compared to what we see on the side of the head. We also have the eyes painted very nicely with a nice glossy black, which we can see there. We have a lighter tone for the lower jaw as well as the underbelly of our figure overall. As we move down, we can see the skin texture continues to look really nice and really impressive as a whole. Moving into the neck, we can see a little bit of a turn to the neck. It's kind of turning its head slightly toward its left, and we have this blue that continues to of course follow along the upper part of the body, but then it starts to sort of break up as you lead down again before transitioning to the lighter tone of the underbelly of our figure. And we have like a yellowish tone for the underside, which is also nice to see because most times you usually see like white and stuff or like light grays. This is like a really light yellow, so I really quite like that as well. And as you move down again, the skin texture continues to look super impressive, especially if you look here on the underside of the lower jaw into the throat, but then even leading down here as we go to the bottom of the neck, moving into the chest of the figure. Again, there's some nice creasing and stuff, some nice slight texturing, and you see the same thing as you move along up here, except you can, I think, just make it out a little bit better. Like the blues are, you know, helping to make the detail shine a little nicer than these brighter tones of the underside, but you can still, again, I think, appreciate how good the texturing and everything and the fine detail looks down here. But as we continue to move down, you can see some slight creasing right there at the bottom of the neck, again with the turn in the neck of our Cryptoclidus. As we move down into the flipper, you can see some more skin creasing and stuff leading down into the flipper. The flipper itself looks really nice. We do have the bluish tone here on the upper side and then the yellowish tone for the underside of the flipper, but the fine detail within that area as well, again, is super impressive looking. Really nice fine detail on something that, again, you would expect to have fairly smooth skin. I think they've sculpted it out perfectly to portray that smooth skin sort of a look while making sure it is as highly detailed as possible. We still have more of the dark blues kind of leading down and again trailing off into the lighter tones of the underside of our figure, and of course you can continue to see how impressive the skin texture is moving down into the underside. Also a little bit of girth to the stomach of our Cryptoclidus, showing that it is nice and healthy. As we move back to the rear flipper, we have again a little bit more creasing as you lead down into the flipper, as well as some more very impressive fine detail, following the same trend as far as the color scheme as what we had seen on the first flipper there with the blue on the top and then again the yellowish tones on the underside. Again, I forgot to take this tag off just like I did with the Carnotaurus. So there we go. We can now see leading out into the tail, we have more of that kind of blue breaking up again and, trailing off into the lighter tones. And we've also got a really nice looking tail sculpt as we lead out into the end of our Cryptoclidus. And if we turn it around to the opposing side, you're going to see pretty close to the same thing, of course, except for the fact that the head is now turned away from us. Again, the really nice paintwork for the eye, that nice glossy black eye looks so good. We have a nice light tone for the teeth, kind of like an off-white, and then of course the same sort of color scheme. The head is turned toward its left, but obviously we're not going to see a massive difference in the visual and the fine detail because it's not a sharp turn, it's just a light turn there. So overall, the fine detail moving through the neck should look pretty reminiscent to what we had seen on the first side. As we move back again, I'm just going to kind of turn this and let the light hit it to try to give you a little bit of an appreciation for the very nice, very subtle differences in the blues. Like even moving along the spinal column, there's a little bit of like a more vibrant, or I'm not really sure how to term it, but a different shade of blue that just kind of really stands out. And then obviously you can see the positioning of the flippers is a little bit different, again kind of reflecting the change in the direction of our Cryptoclidus as it seems to be changing into a left turn. And obviously we can see the flippers doing their job to make it hit that positioning and again that turn. And we can obviously see again the blues on the flippers, the light tones of the side, the blue kind of trailing off into the light tones with those light yellowish tones, and then again the tail curving a little bit in our direction, and then again the fine detail here on the underside. So absolutely gorgeous figure. As I said, I would say one of the best from Mojo Fun so far, and that can be said for both this and the Carnotaurus release for this year. As far as a size goes, for a length, you are looking at about 8.5 inches, or just shy of 22 centimeters. I think that's probably the best we're going to get, because for a height, you're looking at a little bit over 1.5 inches, or around 4 centimeters. And obviously, when it comes to a marine reptile like this, you don't really expect much in the way of a height. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect Day Human Being next to our Cryptoclidus. And you can see again, it's definitely a pretty nicely sized figure, but it's not huge. That's pretty much the same case for both figures from Mojo Fun this year. I would say they're both fairly like medium-sized figures, maybe even a little bit closer to smaller, but not really small. I would say, like decent medium-sized figures, and you can definitely see that here next to these others. Now, one thing I realized when looking for, some size comparisons for this figure is, on top of the fact that I really don't have any other Cryptoclidus besides the Yowie version, which is going to be minuscule next to this one, there aren't really that many plesiosaur figures out, at least not over the last few years, which is kind of upsetting. But I did decide to bring in a classic here with the Invicta figure next to our Cryptoclidus to try to give you at least a little bit of an idea of the size. And then for just some more random, prehistoric marine reptiles and stuff, we've got a Bullyland Ichthyosaurus, which obviously is of a similar size. We've also got the smaller version of the Megalodon from PNSO, which you can see is also fairly similar in size. Then we've got the more recent offering of the Mosasaurus from Recur, which we can see is actually quite a bit larger. And although this is actually the Atopodentatus from Yowie, it's roughly the same size as the Cryptoclidus, because I don't remember where exactly I put that figure. It's super tiny. So just to give you a rough idea of the size of how those two would size up next to each other, clearly they wouldn't size up well. And then just a few random comparisons. Here is the Safari Ltd Eutyrannus, obviously, of a similar size. The Schleich which clearly isn't going to have the same length, but kinda similar in size in a way. The Collect Day Deluxe Dimetrodon, and again, I'm really just going with totally random figures. These are just some randoms that I use for comparisons from time to time that might be able to help you out a little bit. A Mattel Velociraptor as well, next to our Cryptoclidus. And then finally, we also have the Mojo Fun 2025 Carnotaurus for one final comparison, just so you can see, first of all, this is the year of blue from Mojo Fun, but also, again, that they are both kind of similarly sized to each other. So this brand new 2025 Mojo Fun Cryptoclidus is definitely another awesome release from them, and at this point, I feel like it would be tough for anybody to deny the massive improvements of this company over the years. They are really, again, as I've mentioned a few times, kind of hitting their stride as far as how nice their figures are, and I feel like they've never been better than they are currently, and this Cryptoclidus is another awesome one from Mojo Fun. Great species choice, first of all, a very obscure one, and I love the fact that they are picking out some fairly obscure species from time to time and not just giving us the, standard mainstream species that we see too often. This one was a really nice choice on their part, and overall I think they did a great job. The sculpt is really highly detailed. It looks very nice, considering, again, it is a species that for the most part would be kind of just smooth and everything. They've done a very good job of adding in a lot of fine detail. If you just hold it in the light and kind of turn it and let the light hit it, you'll really be able to appreciate all of the work that went into sculpting this one out to look extremely highly detailed. And we've got a very nice paint application on this. It's nothing overly flashy, but flashy enough. It's nothing overly complicated, but very natural. I really quite like what they've done here as far as the color scheme goes, and it all looks very nice as far as the application of the paint. Nice natural, which is also a plus. The eyes looking really good with the nice glossy black, looks really, really lifelike on the figure as a whole. So overall, this is another fantastic release from Mojo Fun. And if you are interested in this or the Carnotaurus, they are available on Mojo Fun's website. I think they're available on Minizoo. They will definitely be coming to Everything Dinosaur, DeJenkins, Happy Hen Toys, all of the websites that you know and love that stock the Mojo Fun brand. So make sure you keep an eye out for them. Absolutely pick up this, again, Cryptoclidus. It is absolutely awesome. And like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.